Hey guys, welcome to my basement. It's getting colder outside now and I am already tired of hearing my furnace run. In fact, it just kicked on as soon as I started trying to record. Anyway, in order to keep that from running, I need to get the wood furnace running. So that means today's project, or maybe over the next couple of days, is to get this small room loaded up with as much firewood as I can get down here. But before I can do that, I actually have to clean the chimney on this. So this is the old original chimney from the house, and the chimney stack is going way up and out through the roof there. And then, let me turn you around here. So then there's this little elbow here that turns and goes up to the chimney from the furnace, and that's how the smoke gets out of the house. So first thing I did here is tape off that hole after I pulled the elbow out. And then I also taped off the access door down at the bottom. That way, from experience, when I go up and actually brush the chimney, I don't end up with a soot black room that's just dumped out all over the place here. So normally, I'm gonna try to talk and walk, which is very difficult for somebody with my intellect. I normally don't like doing it on a very windy day, so I've been putting this off for about 2 weeks now because we've had nothing but windy days. Today, it is dead calm, and I'm feeling better about going up on the roof and making a great big mess and not having it kind of smoke me out, because I've done that before too. When you pull the brush back up, you can get this huge blowback, and it's very unpleasant. So it's dead calm today. I'm all staged up. The basement is ready. The brush is sitting right here. Time to go up to the roof and start brushing. All right, up the ladder. So one thing you may not think about, you don't actually film yourself from time to time, is that to get the interesting angles, a lot of times you have to do things twice. For example, hello camera, I was just up here to set that thing up, and then I went all the way back down just to get this pointless shot of me climbing back up to the top. That's the guy we're gonna be cleaning. And last year I got this cap to stay on really well. It didn't blow off even a single time. And it's just friction fit in there. I just have these little teeth bent pretty right to apply pressure to it. You can actually see that corner is kind of caved in because that's what hit the ground the first time it fell off. So this is the very top of the house. 2-story house with a basement. So that hole all the way down at the bottom ends up being 3 stories down. So I've got my brush on the end of, these are all like 3 or 4 foot sections of handle that just thread together. And this is about the breakdown, you know, whatever that is, 10, 12 feet. Tends to be easiest without having to thread so many different things together and apart. So can you see the smoke that's coming out real bad in the first 20 inches here? If this was windy, it'd be spiraling up here. It'd be really nasty. So a wind-free day is very helpful. And this is kind of the whole deal. Just up and down and up and down. If it was round, if it was a round chimney, I'd actually be turning this as I go too. But because it's not, it's just up and down and up and down. So grab the next section and just start spinning it. And as long as I always spin clockwise, these aren't gonna come apart, even if they're not fully seated. You know, each one of them has to be threaded into the next one. So if I were to accidentally start threading it the wrong way while I'm in here, I could lose these posts inside the chimney. That wouldn't be good. I've always been a little bit afraid that that's gonna happen, but I'm kind of applying, like I said, clockwise pressure as I go. When we were in the basement, you kind of saw the look of it. Most of the way down, it's brick, but all the way at the bottom, it's cinder block. So some point during the life of this place, they redid the chimney from the bottom, and you can actually feel that here. This will pop free of this. I believe they call it a 6x9. I could be wrong. I don't have a tape measure on me. Get out of the tree. But you can feel it pop free of this actual chimney liner and out into kind of the negative space where that cinder block chimney starts, the cavity in that is much bigger than it is in here. And at that point, there's not much more I can do. In fact, at that point, we are below the elbow that comes out of the furnace. So there's not a lot of reason to have to clean that too intensely. There, I just dropped 3. So I didn't even need to use the last 3 stems. Coming down. So I need to remind myself I don't actually need the last 3 segments there. So just like that, we've gotten to the bottom, and I'll keep shimmying my way back to the top. I burn a lot of firewood. Our furnace really only runs from the middle of the night till the time I get up in the morning. When I get up between 5 and 6, sometime after 6 when it's the winter time. When I get up and I hear the furnace running, that's kind of my cue to get up in the morning and go start a fire. But other than that, that is the only time all day long that our gas furnace actually runs. So that means I burn a lot of firewood. Oh, this brush just shed a bunch coming out again. And so there ends up being a lot of creosote built up in here. And that little job, I don't know how long the camera's been running. I could have timed it. In fact, let's just do it. Camera has been running for 8 minutes since I set it up and started brushing. And that's all it takes to clean the chimney. Then I have to go clean up the soot that came out at the bottom, but that doesn't take long either. Anyway, we'll put this guy back in place. I wired it to that bolt down there after it fell off the roof for the second time because I didn't like having to chase it around the yard. Pretty good. Yeah, I don't think the wind's getting that. All right, back downstairs. And now we've set up the camera so we can go all the way back to the top. Just make it look like we're climbing back down. Tempting fate. So that part right there is the part that we can't really do in the wind, in the rain, in the bad weather. And it took, I don't know, with camera set up, 15 minutes. Not really a big deal, but it takes the right day. And now the rest of it, I can just kind of do whenever I feel like it. I can go clean the chimney anytime, or I can clean the soot out of the basement anytime. But as long as I'm at it, and I'd like to start burning wood, I'm just gonna keep after it today. Look at this. I taped that off and tried to make it seal up pretty well, and that's what still came out from I don't know what. It's kind of shocking. Anyway, if I hadn't taped this up, that would have been much nastier. There, that much just sort of spilled out all on its own. We might use this tape to finish cleaning the floor. Yeah. Sorry, Flint, you can't be around right now, or you're gonna track yourself through this soot and make a giant mess. And then there's this. There. Filthy. I will probably go get the shop vac also and just clean out inside there. Just because I'm curious. So that soot is not even this high. The hole goes down to flush on the concrete here. And then here's the height of this. And it's really just about flush with that. So even though we burned a ton, we were very efficient. This is a very efficient burner. I'm gonna clip my hat light on. By the way, this is one of my favorite pieces of everyday carry. This is a little Streamlight flashlight. It's rechargeable. I plug it in every once in a while, or I charge it in the truck when I'm driving around. But it's got low if you push it once, or high if you push it twice, and you can click it on or you can hold it on. And then a little bitty click goes on the hat. I really didn't mean for that to sound like a sales pitch, but I love this thing. I have used it for years and years and years. Anyway, You'd think after having done this for a couple of years, I'd come up with the right sized shovel. I just don't have the right sized shovel. I need to come up with like an ice cream scoop or something would be much better. This fine little dust is really pretty nasty too. I should have my respirator on, but I'm almost done already. Here's an interesting thing. If you haven't spent much time around fireplaces and just stuff exhausting out the roof, you've probably heard the term draft. You need to have the dimensions right to get this natural draft where it's pulling the smoke up and out and away as opposed to kind of letting it linger. Let me pull you in closer here for a second. Let me see if you can actually see this. If we look in this little hole, try to light it with my hat a little bit, and I take just a pinch of this, look at it actually getting pulled in to the chimney instead of dropping straight down. If I were to drop it too far out here, it's just going to fall straight down, right? But if I get close to there, it's actually being pulled back into that cavity, and that's because this thing has a good draft to it. It's actually sucking that dust. There is airflow going from the basement up out the roof, pulling the smoke away, pulling that fine little dust with it. Now this isn't going to get all the way up there, but it's demonstrating the purpose. This stuff clogs the filter of a shop vac so fast that it almost doesn't work. I can use it for a little while, so I kind of use it to do the cleanup. I manually lift out as much as I possibly can. And then when it comes to this spilled stuff here, and then anything inside that I can't actually reach, we'll get that in just a second. That's what I'll use the shop vac for. Inside there, that's kind of like, I don't know what you would call it. It's not a reburner, although it kind of is. The smoke comes up into this chamber and passes over the top of the flame box, the fire box, and actually gets heated a second time almost. So it gets really, really efficient. And then there's just not that much ash that gets out of there. But eventually that does kind of get dirty, so I have the shop vac down here to clean that and to clean the rest of my mess. That is just about it for the cleaning portion of this. I need to put this elbow back in, and I hope I didn't mess it up so much that I can't get it back. I did. So now I get to fight with it for a little while. Who wants to hear some creative new swear words? There we go. That was about as easy as that's ever gone. All right, well that about takes care of the cleaning portion of this. The inside is, I clean it every time I start a fire, so there's really nothing inside to clean. It's as simple as all the ash burns down into the bottom here, and then I use that metal bin to slide it out. Yes, all this newspaper and kindling and nice sweet walnut. That's too close to this. I will not run a fire with it over there. I just moved it out of the corner so that I have room to start stacking firewood. So nobody needs to call me out on that. I already know. This is the hole. This used to be an exterior window. Now it's just a hatch. And that's where I will throw firewood in. So that'll be the next step, except I need to build a new ramp, a new slide to slide stuff in there. You can't get close enough to it with the trailer to just chuck the firewood in. So I need to have kind of a chute that feeds down here. Yeah, that's the next project. All right, for the lumber chute to get into the basement, it's about a 30-inch wide window, opening where a window used to be. So I've got a sheet of, I believe this was 19/32, a little bit thicker than 1/2 inch OSB. So it's got just a little bit more rigidity, a little bit more impact resistance, I'm hoping, because you're gonna take these firewood logs and just kind of chuck them. And then I've got railings These are 2x6s that I cut down a little bit and made a little bit squarer and flatter just for assembly purposes. It's nicer to have not wonky stuff. And I'll have one of these on either side, and that'll keep it from flexing down in the middle. And then this will get slid through that window, and then there'll be a bracket that goes up to a floor joist that kind of holds it kind of as the triangle. So it'll sit in the frame about here, stick about this much out of the window so you can just throw logs on it. And then actually it's going to be close to half what's sticking in the wall versus out of the wall. And then we will have this diagonal piece that comes up to help keep it from tipping anymore. And this won't actually have to hold a lot of weight. It just has to hold it. Now with the last one, it was actually an old door that I took out of the house and the door frame. And all I did was had the door flat, and then I nailed the frame to the edge of the door so the door couldn't open anymore. And then I ripped the top of the frame off. And that was it. That was my chute. I'd slide it in there, and then I'd take a screw and screw it into the old window frame. And same thing with that triangle. And then we just throw logs on the door. And that worked for 3 years. But if you put too much loft into the log instead of like aiming down the chute, it would punch a hole in the door and get stuck. Or punch a hole in the door and start tumbling. Or eventually the door got all beat up and it was useless. That's fine. It was free and temporary for 3 years. The biggest problem was actually getting stuff to slide. I just can't get a drastic enough angle on it for gravity to really do the trick. So I ended up using paste wax on the door one year just to get the stuff to slide without creating a log jam in it. I don't want to paste wax OSB, so this is going to be my attempt here. This is just aluminum flashing, 20-inch stuff. And it was off the clearance rack, so it's super cheap. Don't really care. This is like $10 worth of material here. I've got less than 50 bucks into this, and it's gonna last longer than 3 years regardless. But what I'm hoping is that this will be slick enough that that stuff will just wanna shoot down it instead of getting stuck on the wood. And I could wax this once in a while too if I really thought I needed to. My concern is that if you get too much loft on there and it hits this and you actually kind of punch it with a sharp corner, you might start to tear this up because this stuff is just not that thick. And if you tear this up and then you get something locked in behind it, you're gonna create that log jam again too. So I don't know that this is gonna work, but this is what I'm gonna try this year. So to keep this in place, I've got some just spray adhesive, extra strength, permanent, whatever, spray adhesive that should help hold this to this. And then I will fold it over and probably screw it in from the back just a little bit so that even if the glue lets go over the years, it's going to be pulled so tight and set so flush that it's held from either end. That's the plan. I don't know if it's going to work very long or not. That's why we try these things. So I need to spray this with that adhesive and then set it down on here nicely. I thought about trying to do this perfect, getting another 10-inch sheet and having it take up the entire space. I decided this is enough. If it can't get hung up in the 3 inches on either side of this, that's gonna be left over for the wood. And if I went all the way to the end and then put the fence on, this would be a whole heck of a lot worse to take off if it gets damaged and becomes unusable that way. At least I could salvage the board and the framework underneath it and I don't know, try round 2. But this is the current plan. All right, guys, let's wrap this thing up. I got all that wood loaded down here just in the nick of time. My kids and my brother helped. My wife helped too. Different days, different shifts, but we got a lot of wood down in here. This is 1, 2, 3 stacks deep. That's probably 12 foot wide by 6 foot tall for the most part. Have to leave a little bit of a divot there for the chute to pass through, but usually about 3 rows of this gets me most of the way through the winter. I will have to throw probably 1 more full stack in come middle of February to finish out the winter with, but got some different woods in here. Mostly we have walnut. Just most of this is going to be black walnut from trimming trees out at the farm. There's some oak, there's some, let's see if I can find some, doesn't really matter. There's also some hackberry, some ash, some cherry, a little bit of poplar from one of the last poplar trees that died out in the yard. Anyway, this will keep us nice and warm for the rest of the winter. And there's something about a wood-fired heat. I can't explain it, but this heat reaches the furthest corners of the house where the gas furnace kind of leaves it cold in places. I don't know why. It's going through the same system, but I really like a wood fire to heat up the house. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. What links are there? Oh, the flashlight. If anybody's interested in that flashlight, that's probably the only link. I'll have that down in the description. If there's anything else that I can think of during editing, it'll be down there too. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Let's see, Mr. Walnut. Time for you to burn.